We are live. This is the NBA Rundown. The channel is Nuke the House. I'm your host, Astaire, joined today by Tyler Hicks. Tyler, we got some disappointing news last night as our best bet was the Chicago Bulls. We inferred from the line movement that Tyrese Halliburton would sit. When I noticed the line flipped back, I knew we were in trouble. I checked. Halliburton played. It was our undoing. We dropped the play last night, so we're going to try and get back onto it tonight. But the main story of the NBA is not us losing a bet, much as I'm surprised about that. It's that the Detroit Pistons lost again, Tyler, and it was in heartbreaking fashion. They were up by, 19 at halftime. They had a chance to win it there at the end. Jaden Ivey was actually making plays. They put it all up there on the floor. And Tyler, I follow a guy that does the Locked On Pistons podcast, Khalil. And, he's younger than you. He loves the Pistons, right? And he made a good point on Twitter/X last night that this could be heartbreaking for those guys to really think they were going to win, put it all out there, and then have it snatched away at the end. Did you watch that game, and what are your thoughts?
No, I didn't get to watch.
Okay.
I didn't get to watch any of it, but I mean, yeah, it's got to be heartbreaking. You had a 20-point lead. They outscored you by 19 in the third quarter. Hopefully everyone got those Boston plus 150 tickets in at halftime because that was easy money. But, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. It was NBA logic. If they showed up for a game when the records were completely opposite, what was Boston, 23-2 almost? And you looked at the other side, it's like, well, they have 2 wins. Yeah. So it's just ridiculous, but, I mean, it's the NBA.
I was really disappointed for them, man. I want them to win. I feel so bad for this team. Did you see? So you didn't see? I was invested in it. I took the little swing shift off last night, so I was watching live, and Monty just looked crushed in the post game. I mean, it looked like when you watch those crime documentaries and it's someone that's being interviewed after they've lost a family member. I mean, that's how down he looked. Really disappointed from that team. Did you have any other takeaways from last night? A lot of dogs covered but didn't win. The Los Angeles Lakers absolutely crushed Charlotte, and we'll get into that because Charlotte's on the card again tonight. But did you have any other overall thoughts on last night's games?
No, I mean, I don't actually think I watched a single minute NBA last night. That football game was actually pretty entertaining with Flacco, so the only game I would have watched in the NBA was the Detroit game, and it was on NBA TV, and I couldn't have the split screen with that going with the YouTube TV. So didn't get to see that one. Didn't watch any NBA last night, so no overall thoughts.
Okay, well, let's dive right into tonight then, unless someone in the chat has something they wanted me to address, because it sounds like I was more dialed in on the association last night. I see my guy Richie Smalls is in here. Robert's in here. Yeah, and see, this is the opposite. This is the duality. Richie Smalls loves Monte. Robert thinks Monte's a very bad coach. What do you think, Tyler?
I think he's somewhere in the middle. Good coach.
I mean, he did pretty good with that Phoenix team, right?
Yeah, he's a great coach with a great roster, but he's a terrible coach with a bad roster. So I'm going to say he's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is roster construction, but when you're losing, it's so easy to pick apart everything that's going wrong. And there feels to be a lot of mistakes going on there with the rotations. You look how much better they look without Stewart.
Yeah.
I mean, they went toe to toe. They don't give any of the guys space, room to work. They suck and they're not playing their veteran. They're not playing their young guys. Like, why are you playing a bunch of veterans to lose? If you're going to lose, at least get Ivy and some of those younger guys reps, the rookie. Yeah. Our guy Don P in the chat, he says Pistons have the worst players. Look who's on their team. I actually think Washington is worse.
Yeah, well, I think Washington's worse too, but I mean, they both suck. One has 2 wins, one has 5 wins.
Good point. Let's go right into tonight. And what a great transition by me, Tyler, because the Washington Wizards are +6 in Brooklyn taking on the Nets. The total here is 242. Taking a look at this game, Brooklyn has covered their last 5 games against the Wizards. The total's gone under 5 of the last 6 times when these two teams have faced off. But Washington is 13-5 in their last 18 games at home against Brooklyn. And here they're catching 6 points. We did the projections already, Tyler, but what window did I have those in?
Hey, you got it projected at 125 for the Nets and 118 for the Wizards.
So 7 points, pretty close to the number, although we know that my projections have trended under. So I would say that's a look to an over there for me. But I'm not like jumping. We talked about being selective this week, right? Doesn't this game scream be selective?
I think it does, but at the same time, Brooklyn just sat all their guys yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And now all their guys come back. So they're going to be fully healthy. All their guys are going to be in the rotation. They're rested. We talked about wanting to back rested teams. If any team is checked out and basically going, let's plan all our New Year's parties and which clubs we're hitting up, I think it's going to be the Jordan Pooles and the Kyle Kuzmas. They just played this matchup on December 8th, and Brooklyn put it on them 124-97. They would also cover this spread 3 out of the last 4 with this roster that's just been a rotating door. So any guys that they put on this floor have been able to beat this Washington team. All their guys are back rested. I think maybe this is a spot we should buy in on them, but we'll go through the card and come back to it.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously projections like Brooklyn and the over. See Christopher in the chat. What's up, my man? Minus 150 is not for me. Good to see you. And Jason Graham, who met Monty Williams when he was in middle school. He wasn't so great in the NBA. The middle schoolers didn't care much. They cared about Charlie Ward, the Heisman winner, who I believe did play for your New York Knicks, huh, Tyler? Ended up being a point guard out there. Do you remember that?
Who was that?
Charlie Ward.
No clue.
Yeah, I think he won the Heisman, but ended up playing basketball, if I remember correctly. All right. We're thinking about that game. We will circle back because, as we mentioned, being selective is the name of the game this week and a little bit into next week. Guys, these players have a lot on their mind. It's tough to handicap. I don't think the projections are as accurate as they are when we have a better idea of motivation here. So we have to be careful this week. And we're not going to outthink ourselves like we did yesterday, assuming that Tyrese was going to be out just off that line movement. The New York Knicks are -1 in Orlando, taking on the Magic. Tyler, this line surprised me because for the injury report, only Jericho Sims out for the Knicks. Jonathan Isaacs is a game-time decision. Markelle Fultz, Gary Harris, and Joe Ingles all out. But the Magic still have a starting lineup of Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, and Wendell Carter. That's been a successful lineup that they've run most of the year. Now, obviously, their depth is impacted a bit. But I projected this as a Magic win, and they're underdogs here. I know the Knicks have been playing well, but I was leaning towards Orlando. The trend's like an under here. The total's gone under the last 5 times these two teams have played. What do you think here, Tyler, when the Magic hosts the New York Knicks?
Yeah, I would lean towards an Orlando win. I mean, running this game through my head, it makes sense. Jalen Suggs, great defender at the point of attack. He's going to be the one on Brunson. He could slow down the main head of the snake for their offense. They got guys that can cover Julius Randle and slow him down too. They're going to win the rebounding battle. So in my head, it all makes sense for the Magic, but the line scares me. And of the first 2 games we talked about, I would feel more comfortable pulling the trigger on the Nets over the Magic here.
All right, yeah, I'm getting scared because we talked about being selective. I kind of like both those plays.
And Dawn in the chat makes a good point. It's a question. Are the Magic going backwards? Not necessarily, but at the same time, do we want to just be like, all right, the Orlandos, the Houstons, and well, just those 2 as of right now.
Those were the 2 teams. I was just going to say that.
Those are the 2 teams that if we flash back to the same show on the same day last year, they're bottom dwellers. And their rosters didn't change all that much. Now
they did. Let me jump in here. Orlando and Houston are 2 teams to me that I feel that we circled in our preseason previews as being improved, right? Then my hypothesis is that they actually outperformed who they are as a team, right? Because we see this with teams, right? Where they play better than they really are and they play worse than they really are over the course of the season. So what I think happened with us, Tyler, is we had two teams we circled for improvement. They outperformed. It confirmed our priors. So then we just went all in on these teams. And I agree that maybe both those teams, the Magic and the Rockets, aren't necessarily as good as they performed over the first month or month and a half of the season. And now that they're leveling back to the true level of where they're at. Would you agree there, or do you just think that they're simply not that good? I mean, Houston's roster got way better.
I fully agree, Spread. That was going to be the next couple words out of my mouth before you took it and made it like an extra 6 sentences. I was going to be like, we're trying to push Orlando all the way up here when we shouldn't, but that's what I was getting to with the breakdown. So yeah, I agree.
Okay. I was just thinking about this a lot, so that was going to be my on those two teams there. So I still kind of do like Orlando. Let's take a look real quick, though. Maybe I can convince you. Let's take a look at some of their most recent games. The Knicks have been fantastic, right? And that's behind the strength of Jalen Brunson. What do you think of Hartenstein? Have you watched any of their games?
I watched a little bit of him. I mean, he's decent. He's not the offensive rebounder Mitchell Robinson is, though.
Yeah, I agree, but he's also I also don't think he's as much as a downgrade as I had originally pegged him as. So I think he's playing well. All right, I'm trying to get to this. I don't know why everything reset. I'm looking up their most recent games. Okay. So New York, they got the win on Christmas over Milwaukee. That probably raised their stock, right? For a lot of people who just start paying attention to the NBA on Christmas Day, that's the first they've seen of the Knicks. They get a win over a team that's a championship contender. Then they traveled to Oklahoma City and they lost, and that was on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
In fact, we were on OKC in that game. And I know the Knicks did have a chance there towards the end, but it was a fairly easy cover here. Now let's look at Orlando's last 5. They lost at home to Miami. We lost on that game. I remember being on Orlando. They lost, but they covered in Milwaukee. I remember being on Orlando in that one. 117-110. They won in Indiana. I believe Halliburton sat there because if he didn't, I bet you the score would have been much higher. Washington, they won by 7 in Washington. They covered. They won by 8 on a spread of 7. And then their most recent game was that stinker. So they lost by 20 to Philadelphia on Wednesday night. So, Tyler, my argument here is that because of the Knicks' recent win against Milwaukee and then Orlando laying an egg against Philadelphia without Embiid, that they're being a little undervalued here.
I think they could be, but at the same time, what we just talked about, I don't want to keep buying in on a team that maybe is going to go through growing pains for the next month.
Fair enough. All right. Well, there you guys have both sides of the argument, and you can see why this is a tough game to come to a side on. Right? When we do that best player thing, don't you think that Jalen Brunson's by far the best, or how close do you think Paulo is to him?
I'd say Brunson's the best, but Paulo's like not too far behind. Hell, I don't even think Franz is too far behind Paulo.
No, I don't think he is either. Who would you rather have, Franz or Julius Randle? I think that Franz is the hipster pick, but Julius Randle's probably better right now.
He's on a better little hot streak right now, but season-wise, I'm taking Franz.
Okay. Poor Julius Randle. The Sacramento Kings are -1 in Atlanta taking on the Hawks. Highest total of the day for us, Tyler, with a 252 total. Total's gone under the last 5 times these teams have faced off. 252 is pretty high. But the total has gone over in 16 of Atlanta's last 8 home games. Tyler, I have this projected as a 1-point Kings win. So projections aren't helping us much here. If we want to get involved, we're going to have to just handicap it off the strength of our knowledge of these teams. On the injury report, the only person that matters is DeAndre Hunter. Since Jalen Johnson's been back, Tyler, the Hawks have been playing better. I'm going to look up their recent games while you break down this game.
Yeah. Looking at their last 3, I got it right here. They're on a 3-game losing streak. Lost to Miami, lost to Memphis, lost to Chicago. And on the other side, Sacramento's lost 3 of their last 4. If I always do this when I first go through NBA to start the day, I just scroll through the spreads and see what jumps out to me on the board before I go through any numbers. This was one that jumped out to me, and I said, there's got to be something wrong here. And you go look, this is one of those spots where Sacramento just does not travel well to the East Coast. In the last 15 trips to Atlanta, they've won 2 games. And you're picking the winner here. So as much as I want to bet the Kings, I feel like this could be a trap.
Yeah, I guess my counter towards that would be the Kings have only been good for 2 years. So because we only go to Atlanta once a year, right?
Yeah, it's true.
You go over the last 15 years, that's taking us back to like 2010 with.
But I mean, they beat you guys the last time you went there by 9.
Now that one's fair because that's these current teams. I mean,
they played you guys
talked about not a lot changing.
Yeah, they played you guys in January of last year. They beat you by 3 in Sacramento as underdogs.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you look at the matchups too, like Fox to Young, I mean, kind of one's faster than the other. One could shoot a little better than the other, but kind of
right.
Kind of the same guy. Clint Capella's more physical than Sabonis down low, but Sabonis can do a lot more. And from there on out, like Jalen Johnson, where's he rank amongst the Kevin Huerters and the Keegan Murrays and the Harrison Barnes? Watching him play this year, he might be one.
He might be the only person is Keegan when he's on, but Keegan's still struggling with that young player.
Yeah, and we haven't even named Atlanta's second best player yet in DeJounte Murray. So that's what worries me here. I couldn't pull the trigger on Atlanta either, though. I think I just stay away from this game.
I agree with you. Both these teams have to be looking at this game as an opportunity to turn things around. As you mentioned, the Kings have lost 3 of their last 4 games. Bad loss in Portland. Okay, they're 8-point favorites, closed at 9, and they lose by 17.
That was like that was the flat spot out of the Christmas break, though.
Okay, that's fair, but still, it shows you you're not getting a team that's firing right now. I mean, I guess Clyde, don't make me throw up. I guess we can play that, and maybe we'll get some bounce back just being around, the Kings and listening to them on the radio. Mike Brown had a lot to say about the defensive effort, so maybe we get a nice little bounce back here if you want to play that Kings angle. They lost by 12 at home to the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are a good team, but the manner and they lost really worries me there. Now we look at the Hawks. They've lost 3 games in a row. They lost in Miami. They lost at home to Memphis. And then they lost in Chicago the day after Christmas. Yeah, this game just screams stay away to me. But if you force me to choose, Tyler, I'd take the Kings. Sounds like you'd be on the other side if we were forced, huh?
If we were forced, I'd probably just take the trends and take Atlanta.
Yeah, all right. And that's fair. And I think that shows you good reasons for us to stay off the game. I think if you want to have some fun, if you're not like counting on paying your bills with these bets like I am, I'd play the over in this game. Fuck the trends on that shit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I can see this game going 270.
I have this little mental note in my head whenever I see a total like this. Like it used to be, I'll just click under. No.
Yeah, now it's the other way because I don't think they can make it high enough.
Yeah, exactly. The moment it crosses 250, it's like I think that their numbers spit out something that they knew they couldn't set. Like for instance, Boston Detroit yesterday spread. I bet you that line when they first got the projection out was like 23.5. They had enough money.
Yeah, I had it by 20.
They had enough money on Detroit at 17 that if they would have dropped the 23.5 line, you wouldn't have been able to find a Boston ticket.
Yeah. And I think I figured out why my model's spitting out a little bit unders. And it's because I think there's this huge disparity now in pace, right? So while like Indiana, Atlanta, Sacramento, you face those teams, you're going to be in the 240s and the 250s. All it takes is a couple games against a Houston. New York, not so much this year, right? But you know what I'm talking about, right? These slower teams.
Yeah.
And it just completely throws everything out of whack because you get 3, 4, 5 inputs in the 220 ranges. And with the amount of games we've had, it's not going to spit out 250s. So I'll have to figure out a way to incorporate pace more to make it higher. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because to me, it came out to me on 245. I think it should be like 255. The way these two teams play. So,
yeah,
all right.
I feel like it should be pretty high, but I mean,
I think of all the games so far, this is the toughest one that we talked about.
for sure.
I would much rather bet the Magic and the Nets than I would get involved in this game. The Milwaukee Bucks are -6. They're in Cleveland. They're taking on the Cavaliers. The total is 239.5. Let's look at how these things have been going. Milwaukee is 8-1 in their last 9 games. The total's gone over in 4 of their last 5 road games, as well as Cleveland going over in their last 5 home games. Cleveland 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games. So no Donovan Mitchell, no problem for these Cavaliers. And let's take a look at this injury report. Sam Merrill is the same Sam, right? I don't know him that well. Yes, Sam Merrill is a 27-year-old guard. He's questionable. Donovan Mitchell is still out. Oh, dang it. I clicked back too far. Tyler, do you have this injury report up?
I see Ty Jerome out, Sam Merrill questionable, Donovan Mitchell questionable, Giannis probable.
Okay. My projections for this game, I only have this as a 3-point Bucks win, but I don't want to take Cleveland here. What do you think?
I'm not touching Cleveland here. They still have guys out, like the Mobley's still out, Garland's still going to be out for the time being. These guys aren't back. If it would be anything, it'd be the Bucks or pass for me. Have they played a game since they lost on Christmas, or they just played one, I believe.
Yeah, did they smash somebody?
Yeah, I figured they got
pull it up right now.
I'm pulling the odds, so I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, they beat up on Brooklyn by 22.
Yeah.
I think this could just be another spot they beat up on a team. Like, the thing about Cleveland was when they played this Milwaukee team good was they had size. It's just Jarrett Allen out there tonight. There's no size to help these guys. If Donovan Mitchell sits too, they're screwed. So if anything, I'd take the Bucks.
Yeah, I don't want to lay 6 on the road here. If I were to play anything, Tyler, I'd play the over. So
I don't mind that look.
Yeah, but I don't want to get involved. I think they've fairly adjusted for these teams being higher pace because it's a 239.5 now. And I know we read about these teams going over the last times they played, but my guess is that the total wasn't as high. Have they played it all so far this year?
Let me look at these recent matchups.
Right now. This could be the first time they played each other, I believe.
Yeah, the last matchup was January 21st of last year.
But let's just take a look at some of these Cleveland totals. I know they've been going over a lot, right? But they're coming in at 232, 214, 224, 226, 215. They only had a 236 total against Atlanta, and I think that they're a faster paced team than Milwaukee. Yeah, I think we stay off this game altogether. Anything more for this one?
No, I think that's pretty much it from that one.
Yeah, tough game. The Toronto Raptors are +6.5 coming off the Boston Celtics, or they're taking on the Boston Celtics, excuse me. Total's 224.5. I was just thinking about how I'm going to make this funny, Tyler, because is this the ultimate emotional lit down spot after the Celtics got that huge win last night? That was my joke. I guess it wasn't that funny. Probably should have just read the things properly instead of trying to think of that. But let's continue here. When I'm looking at these two teams, the total's gone under 5 of the last 6 times that these teams have played. And Boston has won their last 5 road games. Tyler, of course, Boston played last night, and Toronto, I believe, their last game was on the 26th. So they're a little more rested. And, of course, this injury report is a minefield. I see Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, all questionable. Kristaps doubtful, and Al Horford's out. So this could be the backups of the Celtics. Normally, Tyler, that's a time that I like to take the backup squad, but I feel at -6, I'm not getting the discount that I want. Half the reason I want to do that, I don't want to take that against the original line. I want to take that against the adjusted line when everybody's ruled out, because I feel like there's an overreaction first by the sport books and then second by the market to try and fade the team with injuries. But at -6, I don't believe that's the case here. Only Garrett Temple on the injury report. He doesn't mean anything to me. And that guy named Koloko. What do you think? I have the Celtics winning this one by 11, but I didn't adjust for injuries.
Yeah, I think it's a hard game because you're just going to have to wait for that injury report. I think Boston sits everybody, though.
I do too.
But I hate betting the Raptors. So if I'd bet them, I'd just take the money line and hold my nose and pray to God they win the game outright. But I think this is another game. In this crazy week, I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. If you guys have something in the chat you want us to talk about in that game or an angle that you're looking at, we'd love to entertain it. But first two games have been the best to me so far, Tyler.
Yeah.
We talked about circling back to the Nets, and as we talk through the rest of these games, it feels like we're going to circle back there. The Philadelphia 76ers are -1.5. They're in Houston taking on the Rockets. Totals 223.5. I have Philadelphia winning by 3 points. And we talked about Houston as a team that maybe I'm overvaluing because I mentioned it earlier. I expected them to improve. They did improve. We won money. So maybe I got a little bit too excited. This injury report, Embiid's out, Batum's out, KJ Martin is questionable, Tari Eason's questionable, Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith out for the Rockets. I wonder how much that Dylan Brooks means to that team, Tyler. Remember how high I was on the Rockets earlier this week against Phoenix? And they not only did they lose, they got crushed. This could be a great opportunity to bounce back, but I wonder, without Brooks in there to really set the tone on the defensive end, how good this Houston team is. So while it originally looked like a spot that I'd want to back Houston, I can't do it. I think it's got to be Philadelphia or pass.
Yeah, Philly
I
or
don't
pass.
want to play the Sixers, do you?
Philly or pass for me, because not only is Dylan Brooks out, Jabari Smith is now out too. Tari Eason can miss this game. He's questionable. Those are a lot of wing defenders.
Yeah.
Even with Philly missing Embiid, they were able to beat Orlando a couple nights ago. Mm-hmm. I don't see them having a guy to slid on Maxey. He's going to just destroy this Houston team. I'd take Philly in this one.
Yeah. Do we want to get there, though?
Maybe not 100% yet on that one.
Yeah.
Because this is another spot where it's like,
Philly's coming off the win. Houston's coming off the loss. It's Philly or pass, so
yeah,
maybe we'll double back to it. Would you rather play Philly or Brooklyn?
Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Here's a game I kind of like, Tyler, but I'm thinking that maybe, we talk about flaws that I have. Maybe, with Jason Graham, we're here. Thunder Nuggets takes. Maybe I'm once again overvaluing teams that have won me money. The Denver Nuggets are now down to -1 with a total of 237. Tyler, I'm looking at this injury report. Reggie Jackson will most likely play. Michael Porter, game time decision. Ken Carr and Aaron Gordon are definitely out. Jalen Williams is a game time decision on the other side. Tyler, these are two of the best teams in the NBA. The Thunder at 20-9. The Nuggets are 23-10. So two of the top teams in the West facing off. We know the Nuggets do enjoy that strong home court advantage, but in tonight's game, I believe that Oklahoma City has the rest advantage. Am I correct? Because Denver played last night and they got a win, but not a cover. Am I right? Did they cover last night? I'm looking that up right now.
I mean, I think they covered. They won. The game.
Yes, they did. My bad. I'm mixing them up with the Pelicans.
Yeah, they
defeated Memphis 142 to 105 last night. So yes,
if they didn't cover, something went drastically wrong. Like the odds were wrong, something was wrong. But yeah, they covered.
So Tyler, I'm looking at their full thing right now. Denver's won 6 games in a row. Do you know who their last loss was to? Well, I'll tell you. The Oklahoma City Thunder. They lost by 1 point at home to OKC as a 5-point favorite on December 16th. Since that game for OKC, they've gone 4-1. Their only loss was at home against the Lakers. Remember when the Lakers called that the must win the Saturday night before Christmas? They've come back strong since the break. They beat up Minnesota, and then they got the solid win over New York. Tyler, two of the hottest teams in the league square off. I like Denver here. My projections like Denver as well. I have this as a 3.2 Denver win. What do you think?
I think I'd be on Denver. But my worry here is if Michael Porter sits 2, Aaron Gordon's already out. That's 2 of 3 starters. This is a team with no depth, really. Mm-hmm. I get it that that was their last loss, but this could just be a spot where talent overrides it. Jokic could have a dominant game, so could Murray, but the OKC could just be the better team in the end and etch this one out. They're not on like a back-to-back to where they're coming to Denver in a bad spot. I think it's the perfect game to live bet, to be honest with you. So I'd probably jump back in on the Jokic triple-double. You got it last night. I think you could do it again here. And just live bet the side as you see the game going on. You probably get plus 150 on both sides in this game.
I like Denver. Is there anything else that I want to throw in on this one? Oh, Oklahoma City 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 trips, Tyler.
Yeah, that's my worry here.
Yeah, I'm down to -1, Don P, on Bookmaker right now. I'm seeing a -1 for Denver, down to -116 on the money line. So essentially just pick the winner. Great game. I tell you, I always have one game that I tape and study, and this will be the game tonight. Would you agree?
Yeah.
It's either that or Kings Hawks just for fun. I don't think I'll learn as much, but I think that's going to be a fun game.
I just do this one.
All right. I like the Nuggets. If this was the NFL show, Tyler, we might just skip this game. Charlotte Hornets are +16 in Phoenix. They started good last night and said, oh, Charlotte's going to cover against the Lakers. And then they scored like 13 points in the third quarter or something abysmal. And they end up losing by 20-something in Los Angeles. Now they got to travel to Phoenix. Phoenix, of course, coming off that big statement-style win. And I was perusing Twitter earlier today. Bradley Beal back in the lineup? I remember the last time I wanted to back Phoenix because Bradley Beal was returned to the lineup, and he was out by the second quarter. We'll see how that goes. On the other side, I see Frankie Nichols, Mark Williams are both doubtful. LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward out. This Charlotte team's a rough watch, Tyler, and the fact that the Pistons are so bad is kind of giving them, I'd say, they're escaping criticism because it's like all eyes on Detroit and the problems that they're having. At the same time, I don't want to lay 16. We saw how that turned out with Detroit +17 last night. If it is close to the number, your bet's going to be decided by the backups. That's never fun. I guess you could hope that Charlotte keeps their guys in, but I'll be honest, I haven't watched enough Charlotte games to know if they run the young guys in the blowouts or not. I have no interest in this game at all, Tyler. Am I missing anything?
No, simple breakdown, dog or pass.
Okay, fine. Phoenix 5-0 in their last 5 against Charlotte. Total's gone over in 7 of 8. Charlotte's last 8 trips to Phoenix. Okay, what's he do? What is that over? 231.5. I have this projected as a 233. Yeah. If you want to bet the over, that's fine. But I think that game is just garbage. The San Antonio Spurs take on the Portland Trailblazers. The Spurs are +5.5. The total is 232. They played this game last night, didn't they, Tyler? Because one of the games that we consider was taking the Blazers -4, and the Spurs got the straight-up win as an underdog, and now they run it back. The zigzag is in effect here. Oh, and Wembanyama is out. DeAndre Ayton, Duop Reith, Shaden Sharp, and Anthony Simons all game-time decisions. I have the Blazers winning by 4. What do you think, Tyler?
It would be Blazers or pass for me, but you got to wait for that injury report. Simon's questionable, Sharp questionable, Ayton questionable, Reese questionable. If I get one of those two, a Sharp or Simon's in, I'd bet the Blazers. Victor's already out on the other side.
And I need one of the centers in.
I'm not sure you need him with Victor out.
I do. I don't want to play it with because who starts at center then? Do they have a third big?
I think they got a power forward who comes in at like 6'10", 6'11". They'll find somebody. They always got an extra guy.
Yeah. All right. So no interest in that game at all. The Memphis Grizzlies take on the Los Angeles Clippers. Tyler, that line is Clippers -6. The total is 225.5. When I'm looking at the injury report, Kawhi Leonard is a game-time decision. I tried to back the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard. That was not a good idea. So another one we're going to have to wait. John Moran, also a game-time decision. Luke Kennard, Derrick Rose, doubtful. Santi Aldama, game-time decision. Tyler, another one where the injury report is absolutely screwing us. Memphis is 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 against the Clippers. So that would be a good sign if you wanted to take the points there. But if I remember right, Memphis did play last night in Denver. That's a tough place to play. And then we look at the Clippers, and they haven't played since the 26th, I believe. But without knowing Kawhi's status, I think this is a tough one to get involved with. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, ugly game. I'd probably end up staying away from it. If Ja were to play, I'd probably take the points. But I think there's a chance he sits again. So I don't want to pull the trigger. They looked absolutely horrible last night without him. So if he's in, maybe I can pull the trigger on the points. But if he's out, I'm staying away from this game.
Yeah. So the game that I'm thinking of that I was excited to see the Clips without Kawhi was when the Celtics beat them 145-108. And then it completely slipped my mind, or I completely ignored that they did get a win without him against the Hornets. But it was only a 9-point win when they were laying 11.5. And then we saw what the Lakers did to the Hornets the night after. So you got to think that's a tough spot here for the Clips. We will wait on that injury news. Maybe some interest for me in the Clippers if Kawhi were to play. So, Tyler, you said you're going to double back. I have 3 plays that I'm looking at. I like the Knicks. I like the Nets. I like the Magic. And I like the Nuggets. What are your favorites, and which ones are we going to make official?
I think we should make the Nets official. I just don't want to be a part of that Knicks Magic game because the Magic could win. The Knicks could just show up, win again. I'd rather bet, if we're going to bet a pick'em game, I'd rather take Philly. And if the only other game I was looking at, I mean, the Denver game scares me. I'd rather bet it live.
Okay. Let's just make the Nets our only official play. We've been preaching discretion all week. All right. We'll fade the Wizards. We'll take the Nets, and we'll call it a day. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. We got 20 minutes till the NFL show. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll dive right back in. And we're going to give you some NFL winners right after that. Tyler, any final thoughts before we log off?
Nope. Just lock in the Nets play, and that's it. And tune back in for the NFL show.
All right. And then next week, guys, we'll be pumping out the volume a little more. But just like I said, this is a tough week in the National Basketball Association. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, guys. Hit that thumbs up, bet the Nets, and nuke the house.